When you think about having the mind of Christ and what that means in terms of how you think, the thoughts that are formed from that mind, and they're different from the natural fleshly thoughts. And the Apostle Paul actually speaks of this to Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. I'm going to read and look at what he says, and this gives us the key to understanding and actually activating and walking in the mind of Christ, which you have. So in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6, he says, therefore. So this is therefore is always there for a reason. But he's just telling him about the gift that was within him. And so he says, I'm remind you of it. Therefore, I remind you in order to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. What is this gift? What is this gift he's telling Timothy that he needs to stir up? Well, read on in verse 7. He says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And he's talking about the Holy Spirit who dwells in us. And he's speaking to Timothy, and he's telling him the Holy Spirit, he dwells in you. And it was through the laying on of my hands. And we see that in many places in Acts and so forth, that they laid hands and people received the Holy Spirit, that they were empowered, that it was quickened, it was enlivened within them. And so he's telling Timothy, he says, I know about your faith that you have, the faith, which is again something from through Holy Spirit. And he says, and I want you to stir up this gift. This is the very mind of Christ that comes because the Spirit, this is God himself who dwells in you. And he says, stir it up. Now, how? How do I stir it up? How do I stir up this gift of the Holy Spirit, which is in me, which God has put here because he has called me into union and fellowship, communion with him? So how do I stir it up? It's really simple. It actually is really simple. It takes effort sometimes, but it's simple. And we can find it in Jesus' statements. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. What I've said elsewhere, where it's our listening to and our learning from him. He is calling us to listen to his instruction, to attend to his words, to follow, but to believe. Believe, because our following, our life being shaped around this is entirely dependent upon what you and I believe. So to stir it up is actually a work of faith. It's actually believing. It's actually saying, yes, God said this, and I have confidence, and I am convinced, and I am certain of this. And even when your feelings are contrary, even when it seems different, the thing about faith is certainty and being fully convinced is that I'm going to act upon what God says, regardless of what anything else says. And that is so vitally important. And so Paul's admonition to Timothy to stir up this gift of power and love and a sound mind is because God's wisdom, God's strength, God's very nature and essence, this is Holy Spirit in you. And you believe by listening and acting and agreeing with what the Spirit, what God tells you. It's that simple. To stir up the gift, the Holy Spirit, which is in you, to truly let it be the active force in your life, the power, the love, what makes you love, what makes you walk in this power and have that sound mind, the mind of Christ, which is what shapes your thoughts, what shapes your perspective, is to cling to what Spirit is telling you, what God has revealed and what he declares. This is fundamentally what it's all about. We have a relationship with God. He created us for this. He calls us into it, and he is not far off somewhere else. He is right here. And all I have to do is believe it. I have to listen. I have to agree, regardless of what anything else says or how it seems. You have been given the mind of Christ. You have been given and have this Holy Spirit, which is the spirit of power and love and a sound mind.